So we already told you about the final cities Amazon chose for its new headquarters.
Spokane made a bid, but as you can see, it's mostly cities on the other side of the country that made that list. However, there are some other signs of economic development headed our way. Crime 2's Amanda Rowley has a look at those projects.
Feeling down about losing the bid for Amazon's new headquarters? Does it feel like there's no hope for the future? Well, put those sad feelings aside because there's good news to help you forget all about Amazon. Greater Spokane Incorporated and the Spokane International Airport teamed up last month to make a pitch that would bring a new Boeing factory to Spokane.
Whoa! Trains have come a very long way, but we're probably not at the point of flying trains. But the Washington Department of Transportation is looking at getting ultra-high-speed trains on their tracks, and I learned this afternoon that that service may not include Spokane.
All right, file this one away as one of those videos that cause you to lose a little hope in humanity. Here's the video. It's put out by a Facebook page called Too Cool, and you know it's legit because they spell cool with a K. So watching the video, you're seeing these clips from popular movies and stock images of attractive women, promises of free beer, and $5,000 a month just to marry an Icelandic woman. And watching, I'm actually wondering if this is some sort of a joke video and I'm just not in on the joke, but it had been seen more than 3 million times in the first 24 hours alone. And a disturbingly high amount of commenters on the video seem to be taking it at face value. So let me make this very clear. This is false. Like really, false. Apparently this is a recycled hoax from the last couple years, which made my verified job easier. Online fact checker Snopes already did a lot of the legwork. And I also turned to the government of Iceland's immigration website. Turns out the entire premise is false. Rather than having too many women and not enough men in Iceland, men actually slightly outnumber women. And instead of offering newcomers money, the Directorate of Immigration's website says you have to prove your own financial support before you're granted a residence permit. So gentlemen, before you pack your bags and move to Iceland, make sure you got the cash and you're prepared to find yourself a wife.
As Creme 2's Alexa Block explains tonight, transportation officials say it'll cut down on congestion and help downtown grow.
The Central City line has been in the works for years, and STA wants your help in helping it move forward.
Students set up a tent in the middle of campus to secure a seat at some of the most highly anticipated men's home basketball games. It's not easy though. In fact, it's usually cold outside. It can take time away from classes and tests too.
So why continue with the tradition many other schools have done away with? 2 on Your Side's Whitney Ward set out to get the answer.
So, full disclosure, I am a Coug. I did not go to Gonzaga, and I've never participated in this tradition of tenting. But several of my colleagues at Creme have. And to hear them talk about it, you'd think it's just the best thing in the world.
Memorable.
Tradition.
Spirited. Connected.
But is it really? I mean, it's warm today, but it is still winter. And frankly, the thought of staying in the grass and spending the night just sounds crazy, which it is. And I've learned that's exactly why they do it. It's the scene at almost every home game at the Kennel. But what you may not know is quite what it takes to get here. It actually starts days before the big game, students milling around campus.
Ready, Christine?
But if you thought this was just like any other day, you'd be wrong. A tweet just went out, the tweet, a single message from the GU Kennel Club that sends students racing from all corners of the campus to one spot.
42!
They're running for a number
Go, Zags.
that will set the tone for the next several days.
Good. 82?
Where'd 80 go?
You know what you're sticky now? 86? 88?
It's what dictates their place in line at Herrick Lawn, home of GU Tent City.
The warm weather is finally here, and while it is a blessing, it can also be a curse because, well, we're not the only ones that enjoy the warm temperatures. That's right, these pesky mosquitoes, they love it too. And while it may be a bit early to see these mosquitoes, WSU horticulture experts actually say it's right on time.
Mosquitoes live year-round, but WSU urban horticulture coordinator Tim Kohlhoff says they start to become visible in April, May, or June.
For many educators, the problem of gun violence in schools has never been more personal. But after a 3-month CREM 2 investigation, I discovered many of the same teachers who are fighting to restrict guns like the AR-15. Well, they're actually invested in the same companies that make those weapons, and it's through their state-run retirement plan. We're talking well over $1 million in shares from gun and ammunition manufacturers. And it turns out many of the teachers I talked to had absolutely no idea.
School safety is just fundamental. We know we're supposed to be going to school for our kids to be learning and thriving, and none of us can do that if we're not safe at school.
I never would have thought that this is where we would be.
So here's how it all breaks down. When a teacher gets hired, they have to make a choice, Plan 2 or Plan 3. Now, Plan 2 has shares in thousands of companies, and employees are not given a choice when it comes to which companies their money is invested in. Plan 3 offers teachers 7 different plan choices, 5 of them specifically not invested in any gun or ammunition manufacturer. But when I started questioning the Washington State Investment Board, I learned the vast majority of Washington's teachers are enrolled in Plan 2, a full 59%. And under Plan 2, they have thousands and thousands of shares in gun companies. Now, I was told it is not the result of active or targeted investment in those companies, but is a byproduct of owning shares in all-inclusive index funds. But intentional or not, it all adds up to $3.7 million worth of shares in Olin Corp. They're the ones that make Winchester ammunition, among other things. $1.6 million in shares of companies like Savage Arms, Sturm Ruger, and American Outdoor Brands. All 3 of those companies make various models of modern sporting rifles, like this one, the M&P 15 by Smith & Wesson. It's the same one police say the Parkland, Florida school shooter used on Valentine's Day to kill 14 of his classmates and 3 teachers. It's also the same gun that was used in the Aurora, Colorado movie theater shooting in 2012. Similar semi-automatic rifles were also used at the Sandy Hook school shooting in Connecticut and the Clackamas Town Center mall shooting in Oregon. And it's the same one many students and teachers all across the country are fighting to keep out of the hands of the next potential shooter.
What you think? We turn now to 2 on Your Side investigator Whitney Ward for an in-depth explanation.
Yeah, this was actually the comment that got me thinking. A friend of mine asking on Facebook, we've always had fires, she said, so does anyone know what has changed? And it's a great question, and the truth is we have always had fire here in eastern and central Washington as well as North Idaho. But you're right, the smoke that we have been seeing is definitely worse than it has been in years, even decades past. So what is it that's changed? Well, the answer you may have heard has been talk of climate change, but that is not what we're going to talk about here, because what's really going on is much more than that. I talked to my colleagues over at DNR, and what we're seeing is actually a very perfect storm of conditions on the ground, as well as fire policy that has allowed for more fire and more smoke. And it all starts with fire seasons that keep getting longer. This chart from the U.S. Forest Service shows how fire seasons are steadily getting extended, dating all the way back to 1980. It continues to get warmer earlier and stays warm longer. Now, that warming trend allows for all the fuels on the ground and up in the trees to continue drying out, so that by August of each year, we have millions of acres of land that have become prime fire fuel. And then each year that goes on, more trees die, the fire fuel just adds up. And by the way, if you're thinking maybe a wet winter would help, it does, definitely, in the short term, but all the melting snow and rain in the spring then makes all the grass and plants grow again. And then when summer heats up, there's more grass and plants to dry out, and it becomes more fuel, ultimately helping fire spread. But what is actually changing isn't the fire itself, it's the fire intensity, because what's burning today is what has been mismanaged now for decades. When a spark actually starts a fire in the forest, there is much more fuel on the ground than there was last year, the year before that, going back decades. So according to the National Interagency Fire Center, if you go back to 1983, there's been a very dependable increase in acres burned all across the country, especially in the West. And it's important to understand that doesn't mean more fires. It means the fires are getting bigger every single year. So if you're thinking, but Whitney, what about the big burn more than 100 years ago? Well, yes, the Great Fire in 1910 was way bigger than anything we're talking about right now. It was more than 1,000 small fires that combined and burned more than 3 million acres all across the Mountain West. But what we're talking about now is during the modern age of firefighting. So over the years, we've actually gotten very good at putting fires out, which is good, but it's also bad because all that extra fuel we just talked about doesn't burn. It just keeps piling up. So instead of a healthy fire that comes through and thins things out while leaving the big healthy trees, we get mega fires that destroy everything. And those, of course, are too big for anyone to stop. We're talking about fires like the Tripod Fire, Carlton Complex, and Okanagan Complex, Carpenter Road, the Chelan Complex, not to mention what happened last year in Montana, the last several years in California and Oregon and Canada. According to the BC Wildfire Service in British Columbia, they will occasionally let fires burn if they can, just to try and stop this vicious cycle. But that too, of course, only adds to our smoke problem.
Much of the trip was not paid for by local taxpayers.
Last month, 7 of our city leaders took a huge trip from Spokane all the way to Scandinavia. The trip turned out to be pretty pricey, but I found out a lot of that money came from a scholarship. Let's take a look at how much it costs and where the money came from.
We're very well prepared for this as libraries face this issue across the country.
To be clear, Amanda Donovan with the Spokane Public Library says there is no current problem with bed bugs at the library, and there haven't been any recent sightings that she's aware of. While you can say these bed bugs are a moving target, the library follows this very thorough procedure. Every quarter, a pest control dog sniffs out the entire building for bed bugs hiding out in library materials.
Bed bugs have a specific odor, and the dog has been trained to smell that odor. Bed bug sniffing dogs are more than 90% accurate in detecting bed bugs.
In the meantime, librarians inspect everything that gets returned.
Every book and every DVD, everything that comes back into the library is closely looked at. You flip through the pages, you look in the spine. It's pretty obvious to tell if there's any sort of bug in the materials.
When my wolf gets a hunger pain, he's going to feel it.
Raising cattle in Ferry County has never been easy.
So how long has your family been up here on this land?
Since 47.
But for Ron Eslick, it's never been harder than right now.
The day that their wolf killed that calf over there, all my cows was right here in a tight circle right here.
He tells me he's lost 3 calves just this year to wolf attacks.
And that was all scuffed up there where she's fighting it off.
In May, it was a weeks-old calf killed right along the fence line near his property outside of Kettle Falls. Just 7 miles south of the Canadian border, he is deep in Washington wolf country.
They might be even watching us from right up here.
So while it's clear that the current system is not working for ranchers like Ron Eslick, the other side of this wolf issue is from environmentalists who say it's not working for the wolves either. And that's why some are looking to a grazing allotment like this one. We're still on U.S. Forest Service land. It's the Colville National Forest, but as you can see, it is much more open. And the hope is that both sides will agree this works better.
You have a place here where you have cattle that you can see where they are. You can count them from a distance even. If there's any movement in the tree line that's wolves coming in, you can see them and observe and protect your livestock. What's best for everyone in this situation? I'm confident we'll get there. We'll find that answer.
So you just heard 2 very different sides of the same issue. But as Mike said, they will never meet in the middle until they actually meet face to face. So I brought them together face to face. Having heard his frustrations, why are we fighting so hard to protect the wolves?
I think it can be done.
Do you think it can be done?
By the time they get it all taken care of, you might lose a lot of cattlemen.
Would you say it's worth a try? So that is where this story continues. Make sure and join us tomorrow for part 2 on KREM 2 News at 6.
There's inherently distrust between our two
there
communities.
is.
So how do we circumvent that? And it's going to take a few special people to actually just say, you know what, let's try this.
Yeah, but I hate to be a punching bag.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you. And if you're feeling that way, how do we fix that?
Quit punching me.
But truly, we don't want him to feel like a punching bag, and we certainly don't want him to perceive that we're throwing the punches.
Welcome, and thanks for joining us for a special edition of KREM 2 News. I'm Alexa Block. Moving to Spokane 2 years ago, I knew a few things. I knew Spokane was home to gorgeous parks, Gonzaga basketball, and Rachel Dolezal, a white woman who got national attention for posing as a black woman and leading the local NAACP chapter. Dolezal is getting national attention again. Netflix released The Rachel Divide just a few weeks ago, and like the entire fallout of 2015, it's getting mixed reviews. While some say we should all accept her apology because her identity isn't ours to judge, others say we shouldn't because she was only pushing stereotypes of what she thinks a black woman should be. But a topic that comes up again, the people this story largely affected and continues to. Black women in Spokane. We're sharing our stories of identity in a candid conversation in this special edition of KREM 2 News, Real Talk, Bridging the Divide. Hi, Tara, it's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. I'm a hugger.
Oh, see, I got
a lot of huggers. You got a lot of huggers.
Here, clap.
So I couldn't sit here and define what black means because that's different for each individual you meet.
The burden isn't on us to have the systems treat us right. It's for the systems to learn how to treat us right. And that's why I work for the systems, because I'm all about system change and helping people grow.
You have mats and you have walls and you can train. And that's what we did every day.
Being the first female women's ultimate fighter, I think that alone is motivating enough to make me want to destroy somebody.
I've always believed that anyway. It doesn't matter where you start. Being there is so cool, enjoying the moment's cool. We still got some stuff to do.
Just some heartbreaking news out of Pullman tonight. The up-and-coming young quarterback for WSU has died of an apparent suicide. Now fellow students, coaches, players, and fans are all looking back on a young life cut far too short. Thanks for being here with us tonight. I'm Whitney Ward.
And I'm Mark Hanrahan. We're bringing in Darnay Tripp right off the top tonight. Obviously, it is devastating news. Police say quarterback Tyler Hilinski found dead in a Pullman apartment this afternoon. He was 21 years old.
Pullman police sent out a press release at 8 o'clock this evening saying that around 4:30 this afternoon, police officers did a welfare check at an apartment complex for a football player who had not shown up for practice earlier that day and found Tyler Hilinski, 21 years old, deceased with an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. A rifle was recovered next to Hilinski and a suicide note was found. They continued saying detectives and the Whitman County Coroner's Office are conducting a thorough investigation to confirm the suspected cause and manner of death. WSU released a statement this evening, including a quote from Mike Leach, who said, "We are deeply saddened to hear the news of Tyler's passing. He was an incredible young man, and everyone who had the privilege of knowing him was better for it. The entire WSU community mourns as thoughts and prayers go out to his family." And from Interim Athletic Director John Johnson, the tragic news today surrounding Tyler Hilinski is devastating to all. Tyler was a tremendous individual, great friend and teammate, and he will be deeply missed. Our hearts go out to his family and friends. The school's release also said the team was brought together and informed of the news today. Tyler Hilinski had just wrapped up his redshirt sophomore season in Pullman. He was Luke Falk's backup the last 2 years, making his first career start in the Holiday Bowl, Washington State's last game. He threw 2 touchdowns against Michigan State. The Claremont, California native led the team's unforgettable comeback win over Boise State back in September and was expected to take over the starting quarterback job in 2018. There was a huge outpouring on Twitter after the news broke. Numerous teammates, including Jihad Woods, saying, "I'm speechless. Doesn't seem real, I should say, at all. I'm sorry, brother. RIP 3. Cornerback Marcellus Pippins, "I'm sick. Heart is so heavy." Rest in peace, Klink, fellow quarterback John Bledsoe, son of Drew Bledsoe. God let Tyler find peace. Everyone, please pray for the Helinski family tonight. Heaven received a very special person. Defensive back Skylar Thomas. Ty, you were a great teammate, friend, brother, anything we needed you to be. You brought smiles to the people around you. I'm sorry I could not be there for you when you needed a smile for yourself. Love you, man. Rest in peace. And his brother, Ryan Helinski, who is also being recruited by the Cougs. Please keep my family in your prayers tonight. WSU President Kirk Schultz adding, our thoughts and prayers are with the Helinski family. Other schools and coaches around the Pac-12 and here in the Inland Northwest have passed along their condolences as well. We are familiar, of course, with former Coug Ryan Leaf's story. He is a recovered addict, is now helping others battle their own demons. He said on Twitter, I am so expletive angry. I can't stop crying. Every human life is so precious. All I wish is that I could have been in that apartment in Pullman, looked that amazing young man in the eyes and said, you're loved, Tyler. I'm just like you, and I've been here, and there is hope. Hugged him and never let go. And tonight, there's a memorial already growing on the WSU campus. This picture comes from Die Hard Cougs, candles and flowers underneath the Cougar Pride statue. The WSU community absolutely shaken, stunned by the news tonight, as you'd expect.
And those tweets, it is profoundly sad to hear from some of these incredibly strong people that we know and have heard from so many different occasions, and to see that raw emotion that we've seen tonight has been just
in situations like this, you don't really know how to process it. You don't know the right words to say. There probably aren't the right words to say.
And particularly for his teammates who are having to deal with this, that know him so well. You think you know him and what he's going through so well, and then just to be absolutely blindsided by something like this. It's important to note WSU is making counselors available to the football team, and I'm sure athletic department wide for anybody who wants to talk to somebody, which again, if you're ever in a situation like this, so important just to get help, to speak to anybody.
Listen to people, be an ear, be kind to each other.
And it's so important to say, even sometimes the people that you think couldn't possibly be struggling, they might be. And so how important it is to pay attention to that and not to discount it and not to try to explain it away. And if that is you, or if you know someone who's having thoughts of suicide, just there is help. And the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline is staffed. There is someone there 24/7. Someone always picks up the phone.
The number right there on your screen is 1-800-273-8255, and specifically at WSU, the school's counseling crisis line, that number is 509-335-2159.
We just can't say it enough, but obviously WSU feeling a big loss tonight. Many of you just as affected as we are, as everyone else here on Twitter, as we have been by this tragedy. We're going to head to a quick break. These are some of the many words for the Helinski family in just a terrible time. We'll be right back.